Hi there, welcome back. A few days ago when I did the 3 hauls, the epic day of hauling, I said that I would show you some of the projects I've worked on this month. And true to word, I'm going to do just that today. So the first thing I'm going to show you is a pocket letter that I did. And this is one of 5 pocket letters that I have going out this month actually. And that's not really a great view. You have to forgive me, folks. I'm still learning how to work all this equipment to make sure that you can see everything. So this is pocket letter number 1. And as you can see, it comes actually with its own tag that was made expressly for this project. So let's start with that. So this tag was a labor of love. It, upon looking at it, doesn't seem that complex, but actually if you take a good, careful look, there are many layers upon layers, at least 6 or 7 layers here. I've got a vintage photograph that I bought while traveling last year, layered over paper, some pieces from a Tim Holtz collection, but also there are some pieces of authentic vintage, again, that I bought while traveling. We have another cutout here, the Be Happy, Be Kind sticker at the bottom. And then what I did was not only did I tear the paper and the stock, but I did a technique in art called grattage. So I did a layer of colors that matched the corresponding pieces underneath, topped it with gold, and then distressed and scratched off a pattern that I wanted, just like I did at the bottom. So that's called grattage, so I did that. And then rather than using a jump ring, I made a decision to go with a traditional old school bow, and I let the edges fray and fringe a bit and then coated them in clear nail polish so they wouldn't fringe anymore. And then from here I have hanging the pink version of that trim from Hobby Lobby we see so often. Normally we see it in Maggie Holmes projects in gold, but I actually really liked the soft pink and I've been using it quite a bit this month. And then this is a really nice burlap with leaves and then just some soft pink pearls, which I know that the recipient will appreciate. On the back is like super quirky. So again, we have torn paper, we have a watercolor painting that I did, and then we have another piece of torn paper, and on that is something called a 30-second cartoon. So basically it's a cartoon I did of myself, but I put a timer on and I only allowed myself 30 seconds to do it in. And it says, make quiet beauty. So with this tag, which I adhered to the pocket letter with this lovely little clip that matches, I'm gifting the recipient some really delicate soft white lace that I know that she'll like and appreciate. And I'm also gifting her this, it's a anklet inspired by the beach. And the reason that I'm doing that is that some of you may or may not know that I have been living in, I'm originally Canadian, but I've been living in New York City for more than a decade now, but I am on a hiatus because of my health. And that's one of the reasons why I ended up here on the YouTube crafting community, is because I had some extra time on my hands and wanted to learn a new art form, and you guys have all been super welcoming and gracious. But that anklet is homage to my newfound love of the beach. So let's not talk anymore about my health issues and move on to something more exciting, namely the pocket letter. Okay, so the first pocket's pretty simple. Yes, we have a lovely paper in the back, we have many layers, we have floral, we have some vintage pieces, we have a bird, and then a ticket that says, hello friend, and 3 pearls attached to the exterior of the pocket. The second pocket, upon looking at it, seems really simple. Has a Maggie Holmes flower, and the interior peeking through it says, this is your life. But actually a closer look at this pocket reveals it's way more complicated. This is probably my favorite pocket in the whole letter. So I did a watercolor painting in the back, and then I die cut a trellis, which I overlaid. And then I layered torn paper. I fussy cut out an Alice in Wonderland piece that I had. I actually glittered her whole skirt. And then for using die cuts, these little die cuts, which are really quite amazing actually. They're from a series, they come in all different sizes. And you cut them out, and either you can layer them to make a sun, you can use them alone, or you can layer them and use a brad to make a flower. I really like these. I got them off of AliExpress. They're pretty fantastic. So that's that piece. It's actually hard to put back in the pocket. I need to trim it a little bit, so I'm just going to save you the time and move on. So this third pocket is a typical gardening one. Yes, there's layered paper. Yes, there's distressed paper in the back, and some gold foil, and an enamel flower, and a butterfly, but it's fairly straightforward. The middle section is really interesting. Normally, it would be a sequin pocket because that seems to be the trend these days, is a shaker or sequin pocket. And in fact, this is a shaker pocket. It's just a very subtle one, and that's because I didn't want it to be the focal point. I layered tulle over a Maggie Holmes flower from Flourish, and I just put in a very few amount of sequins to make it a shaker pocket, but a subtle one. And that's because I wanted the "Oh Happy Day" to be the focal point of this letter. And the reason is that the recipient recently talked about having a really difficult time, and I just thought that "Oh Happy Day" should be much more of the focus than a shaker. Okay, so this pocket is inspired by the recipient's love of surrealist type art, and she really likes taking apart images and putting them back together again. So that was my attempt at honoring that tradition of hers. And it just says, surround yourself with love, laughter, and truth. And then this pocket, I used a Tim Holtz couple of pieces, put them on some interesting paper, and I have to be honest, I forget from which collection. And then I framed it with an enamel flower. On the exterior of the pocket, there's 3 hearts, and it says, smile, don't compare. And that's because this particular recipient is very unique and has a unique artistic voice on YouTube. And I wanted to make sure that I was honoring that. And then the last row, last but not least, we have here a camera pocket. And sorry about the glare, but that is a piece, I think, from Casey's ephemera collection. And I added a holographic gemstone for the center and then pearls for the click buttons. It's actually topped on a rosette, so this is quite dimensional in person. And then in the background, I used Maggie Holmes paper, but because this particular paper had a more vintage feel, and it also had cameras on it, so it matched. And then this says, don't forget where you came from, but also remember where you're headed. And then this middle pocket is a return to multi-layering. So we're talking about 7 or 8 layers. We're talking about pearls on the exterior, think happy on the interior, torn paper again from a book, butterfly, some cutouts from Tim Holtz. And then finally the last pocket is probably the most simple, and it's just a piece of a floral cutout with a butterfly and this saying peaceful, and the bow is on the exterior. Now, I'm as concerned with the back of the pocket letter as I am with the front, which I know probably speaks to my OCD tendencies. So that's what the back looks like as a whole. Yes, I know it's meant to hold goodies, but I also wanted it to be attractive. So the first pocket holds those sunburst dies that I showed you earlier that I'm so in love with, that can either be suns on their own, or they can be layered and used as a brad to make flowers. And I also cut out for the recipient a couple of words using my die cutter, so I chose to match the collection. I did sunny. Of course, I prepared all of this beforehand, and then they stick together. Oh, that's so funny. Okay, so I did sunny and happy. And the reason I chose to do these die cuts is because these are really time consuming, as we know, right? Like, these are really time consuming to cut out. And we never know what other people have. So I like, in the back of my pocket letters, I like to give things that I make using my die cutter, that I own in terms of ephemera, and also some like either embellishments or things I think they can use. So in this middle section, I also use my die cutter, and I cut out a bunch of different shapes like this, and I don't know if you can tell on camera, but it has stitching on the exterior. And again, this is because this is a very useful die cut, and I don't know what the recipient has or doesn't have, but I also did some on the gold foil and with the scalloped edge, because these are super useful, and the recipient will be able to use these over and over again for all different projects. I'm just going to cover up the recipient's name because I don't want her to see. And then in this pocket, and in this pocket, I included ephemera from the Bloom collection, both the florals, and also I fussy cut out some of the phrasing and so forth that I thought could be useful and that she'd appreciate the aesthetic. And then this pocket is the unicorn shaker from the Paper Studio. That's probably more my aesthetic than hers, but who doesn't love a unicorn? Had to have it. And then in this pocket, I gifted the recipient some of that Hobby Lobby pink leaf twine. And then last but not least, this is a Tim Holtz frame that I gifted the recipient. And then on the exterior, I put hello and a little Maggie Holmes box that I think is adorable. And then here I created a pocket within a pocket. And there I die cut out some of these sun die cuts. And the reason I did that is because they match both the word cutouts up here and the sunbursts, but also because this recipient really likes steampunk, and this has that shape, even though I guess in yellow it's really not that steampunky. And then the last pocket, which I'm covering with my finger, is where the letter is. So that's the pocket letter. The one thing I would probably change is this burlap twine. So I loved it when I bought it. I bought it at the dollar store, but actually after using it, it was really difficult to work with. And I loved it at its price point, and I also love the aesthetic for both this and another project that I'll show you in a couple of days, but I wouldn't purchase this again. I would buy a finer burlap, either at Hobby Lobby or at Michael's. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. If this was something that was fun for you to watch, or you learned something, or you just liked hanging out and talking about pocket letters, then please click the thumbs up button so that I know to make more videos like this. Leave any comments below and I will do my best to answer them. And thanks again for all of your support. I really appreciate it. And as always, it's wonderful hanging out with you. Bye for now.